amphibious operation against the hostile shore. The ship-to-shore surface assault is beginning, with the Navy Amphibious Task Force putting ashore a Marine landing force in Division Wing Strength. Ships of the transport group have been organized into naval transport elements. For the purpose of this film, each transport element has transported and will now land a battalion landing team. This film will show how the ship-to-shore surface assault is organized, prepared, and executed from the viewpoint of the transport element and of individual ships. The techniques shown would be exactly the same if Army troops were being landed instead of Marines. The naval transport element is task organized to transport and land a specific battalion landing team for a specific operation. The number and type of ships will vary depending on the number and type of units in the BLT and where and how they must be landed. The organization for the ship-to-shore surface assault therefore develops from the landing force scheme of maneuver ashore. Each battalion landing team is task organized to accomplish its portion of the scheme of maneuver, with an infantry battalion as the nucleus of the BLT. Augmentation units of varied size and type are then added. Units which would be available in support in normal land warfare, but which must be attached in an amphibious assault so that the BLT will be self-supporting. Each unit of the task-organized battalion landing team is then scheduled ashore at a specific time and place to support the scheme of maneuver. When all this has been determined, naval planners can determine how many ships and landing craft of each type they'll need to transport and land the BLT, with all its men, equipment, and supplies. A naval control organization is set up to control the ship-to-shore movement. A landing force shore party is task organized with certain naval elements to facilitate the movement of troops, equipment, and supplies across the beaches. Each naval transport element must normally plan to transport and land the shore party team supporting its BLT. In a surface assault, the naval transport element will probably include both landing ships and transports. Transports carry the bulk of the assault troops and the boating to land them, plus some light equipment, and supplies for the battalion landing team. AKAs have the assault boating needed to land their heavier cargoes. They carry landing force supplies and some wheeled vehicles and assault equipment. LSTs carry most of the wheeled vehicles and the pontoon causeway sections that may be needed to land them, plus amphibian vehicles and troops for the first waves, and most of the other tracked vehicles. LSDs carry large landing craft, preloaded with high-priority vehicles and combat equipment, including tanks and anti-tank weapons. Other vehicles can be carried on an open mezzanine deck. LSDs may also carry amphibian vehicles in their well decks. The LPD is a versatile ship designed for both helicopter and surface assault and able to accommodate large numbers of troops. Its well deck can carry the varied loads of an LSD. It has storage decks accessible to the well for vehicles of all types. The LPD can also carry palletized cargo discharged by automated materials handling systems. In addition, it has control and command facilities, plus accommodations for both naval and troop staffs. If a portion of the battalion landing team were being landed by helicopter, an LPH might also be part of the naval transport element. Helicopter-borne assault is covered completely in another film of this series. All boats required to land the BLT are organized into a boat group. The smaller landing craft are organic to the transport element. LCPLs are used for command and control of the boat group. LCVPs for troops and for small wheeled vehicles and supplies. LCM6s for larger vehicles and supplies, and sometimes for assault troops and small-tracked vehicles. Larger landing craft are embarked as augmentation boating. LCM-8s carry heavy tanks and large vehicles, and may also be used for transporting supplies and equipment. LCUs land tanks and heavy equipment of all sorts, including artillery. Amphibian vehicles are supplied by the landing force, but come under the Naval Control Organization during the ship-to-shore movement. You have seen the elements involved in a ship-to-shore surface assault. Now we'll move backward to see how this complex operation is prepared by officers and men of the Naval Transport Element. Every man, every piece of equipment, every item of supply must be embarked in the proper ship, in the proper place, if the ship-to-shore movement is to be conducted on schedule. The ships are combat loaded to support the plan for landing and the scheme of maneuver ashore, following plans made earlier in joint sessions between troop and ship representatives. The ship's combat cargo officer supervises embarkation. He is responsible to the ship's captain to ensure that the loading conforms with the approved plan signed jointly by the captain of the ship and the embarkation team commander. A troop embarkation officer also supervises the embarkation. He is responsible to the embarkation team commander, a senior troop officer assigned to ensure that the loading conforms with the approved plan. Cooperation and understanding between naval and troop commanders is essential. Before sailing, the Naval Transport Element Commander and the Battalion Landing Team Commander brief senior officers on ship-to-shore plans when practicable. During movement to the objective area, ship's personnel can refine their plans for the ship-to-shore movement. The captain briefs ship's officers and troop officers, acquainting them with important features of the Amphibious Task Force Operation Plan and its alternates, including landing plan documents relating to the ship's role in the assault. The assault area diagram shows the transport area, the approach lanes, and boat routes to the beach, the location of the control ship, and the distance from the line of departure to the beach. The sea echelon plan is an alternate used for heavily mined areas, when transports must move through swept lanes, debark assault waves, and then retire to sea. The landing diagram shows graphically the ship-to-shore movement plan for the battalion landing team. The approach schedule gives timing for each wave at the rendezvous area and control points. The landing craft and amphibian vehicle assignment table gives assignment of troop personnel to boat teams and assignment of each boat team to a wave or to a serialized element of a non-scheduled unit. The serial assignment table shows assignment of troops, supplies, and equipment to serials, which must be landed as a unit, along with the number and type of landing craft which must be used. All of these documents and more must be studied, after which officers will brief ship's personnel on details important to each department. During movement to the objective area, the ship's debarkation schedule must be prepared as a joint responsibility of the ship and troop commanders. Usually, the ship's captain delegates the work to his combat cargo officer and designates him transport debarkation officer, while the troop commander makes his embarkation officer the troop debarkation officer. The debarkation schedule assigns troop boat teams to debark at specified stations in an orderly sequence, and also schedules unloading of supplies and equipment from each hatch. The movement phase is filled with drills for both naval and troop personnel.
this is a drill. Second condition 1 Alpha.
Boat team 3-1, lay up to white 4. Boat team 3-2, lay up to blue 6. Boat team 3-3, lay up to yellow 8.
When the ship arrives in the objective area, its crew and its equipment must be ready. Davits and booms must work faultlessly. Nets must bear their loads. Communications gear must be in perfect condition. This ship and all its men have just one purpose: to put all troops and each item of equipment on the beach exactly where and when they're called for. D-Day, and H-hour is near. Usually, the approach to the transport area and much of the ship-to-shore movement would take place before dawn, but we show it in daylight for greater clarity. The ship takes its assigned position.
Georgetown, this is Top George. At the mark, the time will be 0500.
A time check from the flagship. Every step in the ship-to-shore movement will be based on this time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Time 0500.
Now, each ship gives a time check to ship's personnel and troops.
Stand by for a time check. At the mark, the time will be 0515. 15 seconds. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Time 0515.
Georgetown, this is Top George. Land the landing force. Land the landing force.
With that order from the Amphibious Task Force Commander, the ship-to-shore movement begins. The ship is at condition 1 Alpha. Access is given to stations used in debarkation, and those stations are manned. All debarkation equipment is activated. The boats are lowered. Debarkation stations are rigged, and all hatch covers are removed. Meantime, all troops have assembled by boat teams in berthing compartments or other designated areas. Landing ships going to condition 1 Alpha must also make special preparations varying with their loads. LSDs and LPDs ballast down. LSTs open their bow doors and lower ramps if they're carrying amphibian vehicles and have launched causeway sections. All ships lower boats after receiving the order to land the landing force. Boats of each type go into separate assembly circles off their parent ships, with the senior boat group officer of each transport taking charge of the assembly circles off his ship. When debarkation is to take place from both sides of the ship, LCVPs circle on the 2 quarters and LCMs astern. If debarkation is to be from one side only, LCVPs circle on the quarter and LCMs abeam. Boats assigned to report to other ships are dispatched from separate assembly circles in company as directed in the landing craft employment plan. Before the regular debarkation begins, special pre-H-hour transfers may be necessary. Personnel of naval control parties and landing force tactical logistical groups may have to be transferred to control ships, and some troops may have to be transferred to ships carrying their equipment. Artillery, for example, may be carried in an AKA, which may not be able to berth all the gun crews. The landing craft assigned to these transfer missions usually return to the parent ship and rejoin their assembly circles. Debarkation is controlled by the bridge in accordance with the debarkation schedule, the landing craft and amphibian vehicle assignment table, and the landing craft employment plan. The ship's diagram shows location of hatches and debarkation stations, which are indicated by colors and numbers. Even numbers are to port, odd to starboard. The transport debarkation officer calls the signal station for the type of boats he wants, not for specific boats.
Signal bridge, debarks, control. Bring Papa boats to debarks. White 4, blue 6, and yellow 8.
Signal flags are hoisted on the side of the ship to which the boats are being called. Papa for LCVPs. White, blue, and yellow for the debarkation stations they are to approach. Loudspeakers duplicate the flag signals.
Papa boats, make debarks white 4, blue 6, and yellow 8.
Those boats nearest the ship pull out of the circle. Meanwhile, the troop debarkation officer has ordered boat teams to the same debarkation stations.
Now hear this. Boat team 3-1, lay up to white 4.
Boat team 3-2, lay up to blue 6.
Each boat team follows a rehearsed and timed route, reaching its debarkation station as the landing craft is secured alongside. The boat team debarks under direction of the debarkation station officer, an officer or CPO of the ship. An identifying paddle carried by the boat team is lowered into the landing craft and placed upright in the starboard bow. The first number indicates the wave, and the second gives the boat's position in that wave. Wave 3, boat 1. This tells the boat crew for the first time precisely where they will be in the ship-to-shore movement. Debarkation personnel on the bridge maintain the status and location of each boat on a debarkation control status board. The parent transport dispatches loaded boats to a pre-selected wave rendezvous circle, shoreward from the ship, but close in. They will circle there until a full wave forms. The ship then vectors each wave to the boat group rendezvous area, with the boat group commander preceding the first landing craft wave. All waves circle in the rendezvous area until dispatched to the line of departure, either by the parent ship or a control ship as specified in the approach schedule. Assault amphibian vehicles precede the landing craft at the line of departure, usually forming the first 2 or more waves. Both amphibian vehicles and landing craft are controlled and vectored to the beach by the primary control ship. Control procedures and boat movements are shown in detail in other films of this series: the ship-to-shore movement and ship-to-shore boat group tactics. As the ship-to-shore movement proceeds, boats from the naval transport element perform many special functions. Landing craft assigned as floating dumps stand by near the control ship with emergency troop supplies until they're called ashore. Waves carrying on-call serials circle in assigned areas until their loads are needed. Non-scheduled units stay aboard ship until boats are available to take them ashore, as specified in the landing sequence table, or until called for by the appropriate troop commander on the beach. Each unit carries a paddle with its serial number, which is also used on any equipment and supplies which must be landed with the men. As the operation proceeds, the shore party builds up ashore. Naval elements of the shore party, called the Naval Beach Party, establish visual and radio communications between the shore and commands afloat. They supply hydrographic information, including hourly surf reports, and handle salvage and repair of landing craft on the beach. Ship salvage boats report to the Naval Beach Party. The shore party facilitates the logistic flow from the forces afloat to those ashore. Shore party command posts receive supply requests from troop units and relay them to landing force tactical logistical groups aboard control ships. TAC log personnel locate the needed supplies from their lists and advise naval control officers. The Naval Control Organization dispatches boats from the pool, which was assembled after landing of assault waves, and advises the proper transport to debark the supplies. This is the selective unloading period, with the ships instantly responsive to landing force requirements ashore. When the beach is properly organized and certain supply requirements are met, the landing force commander requests general unloading to start. When the amphibious task force commander issues the order, all ships unload as rapidly as possible, without regard to class or priority. The general unloading period emphasizes speed and volume. A landing force ship's platoon helps during unloading. These men are landing force replacements assigned to the ship for labor duties until they're needed ashore. Meanwhile, the LSTs have launched and assembled their causeway sections. This is normally done by the Amphibious Construction Battalion with assistance from the LST. The causeways are beached on instructions from naval control officers. This may be done on schedule or on call from the landing force. Causeways may be beached by causeway tender boats or by momentum beaching by the LSTs. After having discharged their own load, LSTs may be used for general unloading of other ships, taking their cargoes to the causeways. When the general unloading phase is ended, when every man, every piece of equipment, and every item of landing force supply is ashore, the ship-to-shore movement will be completed. The ships of the Naval Transport Element will have done their job. The ship-to-shore surface assault will go smoothly if it is well planned and properly executed. Every officer and every man must know his job. Every step must be planned and studied. Every man of the landing force must be put ashore exactly when and where he is needed. The ship-to-shore surface assault is the key to any amphibious operation. Proper planning, preparation, and execution will save lives and help to assure success.